Hi learners, and welcome to Writer's Workshop. In today's lesson of Writer's Workshop, we are going to use a topic web to brainstorm ideas. Why do we use topic webs? Well, sometimes we have all these ideas in our head and we don't know how to organize them. Or we have a lot of ideas, but we need to see them to really start writing. So today we are going to use a topic web to write a spooky story. Lesson, all you need is a blank piece of paper. I'm using a whiteboard just because it's easier to model with, but all you need is a blank piece of paper. You can use a lined piece of paper, but sometimes it's nice just to have it blank so you can see all of your writing. And one last thing, your imagination. Let's get started. Halloween is one of my favorite times of year to teach. You know why? Not only do I like to read spooky stories, but I like to write spooky stories. So, in today's writing workshop, our skill is going to be, how do we begin the process of writing a spooky story? All right, so when we have our blank piece of paper, the first thing we need is our imagination. So I'm going to think, what could my spooky story be about? I know, I want the main setting and idea to revolve around a haunted house. So I'm going to start brainstorming some ideas on how I can write this up using a topic web. So now I am going to model how to start a topic web. First, you will draw a circle. This circle is going to be your main idea, or what basically your spooky story is going to be about. Mine is about a haunted house. So I'm going to show you how I show my topic web and my main idea. In my last slide, we saw I had a circle. So after I draw my circle, I wrote haunted house. This is my main idea, or main setting where my story will take place. In this part, this is our foundation of our topic web. Now, as we see, I have main idea. Again, that's my haunted house. Then I need to come up with my characters, because I know in every story there has to be characters. Next, I need to come up with what problems are my characters or character are they going to face. Next, solution. I know that in stories there is a problem and solution. So how are my characters going to solve their problem? And lastly, extra details, because a story has extra details in order to keep the reader hooked and to keep the reader reading. So when we write a spooky story, we have to make sure that we have characters, as I already discussed. However, because I want a short spooky story, I'm only going to have two main characters. So I have two main characters. Tom is going to be one of my main characters, and he is in 6th grade. And then I have Susie. She is my other character, and she is going to be in 3rd grade, and they are brother and sister. See what I came up with. The problem my main characters are going to have to overcome is Tom gets stuck taking Susie trick-or-treating, or another problem could be Susie gets her candy stolen and Tom has to help her figure out who stole it, and then somehow they figure out a spooky haunted house. I'm not sure on that one. And that's okay. We can have more than one problem we're thinking, and it may take us time to figure out what problem do I want. But in our topic web, we get to put all our ideas down. So it's okay if it's not completely perfect right now. So in my topic web so far, I have my characters and my problem. But we know as good readers and writers, every problem has a solution. characters going to solve their problem? Here I have a couple ideas. If Susie's candy got stolen, then her brother can help her find who stole it. Or if I go with Tom gets stuck watching Susie and they end up at a haunted house, maybe they find a way out. Now you'll notice this looks kind of messy. This is totally perfect for a brainstorm web. So now that we have our characters, I have my problem and a solution, we're going to talk about extra details because extra details also make up a spooky story. So here I came up with that it has to be Halloween night. The air is cool. So I'm giving my readers a sense of how that night may feel. I also came up with the brother doesn't really like Halloween and he's kind of annoyed he's stuck with Susie. So that's how my character is feeling. Things to remember when I am coming up with my extra details are: how do my characters feel? What are my characters thinking? As a writer, how do I set up the scene? What kind of day or night is it? Is it cold? Is it warm? Is it gloomy? Extra details make up the rest of the story. So we want to ensure that we include these details throughout our story and we put them in our topic web so we can pull from them when we begin writing. As a wrap up, I started brainstorming some ideas. So all I needed was a blank piece of paper and my imagination. From there, I then draw a circle and write, what is the main idea of my story? What is my story going to mostly be about? After I have that idea, I then go ahead and start writing out who are my characters going to be. I would encourage you only to have 1 or 2 main characters since this is a short spooky story. Then from there, what problem are my characters going to face? You can have more than one problem you are thinking about. This is why it's a brainstorming topic web. Then, what solution is there going to be to my problem? Again, there can be lots of solutions. And lastly, extra details. What am I going to do to pull my reader in? So now that I had just covered that, it is your turn. So for this next part, I want you to spend 5 to 10 minutes coming up with what your spooky story is going to be about. At this time, I will have the slides, so if you are in a classroom, you can pause the video here so students can work on what is their story going to be mostly about. Great! I hope that you had some good ideas on this part. The next part, I always encourage every classroom to think, pair, and share. So if you're not working with a partner, you can always just share whole group, or your teacher can have you in partners already. So this next part, I would encourage you to share what you came up with. Sometimes hearing someone else's ideas can bring us some cool ideas as well. So at this time, I'm going to pause, or I will have you pause. I'll put the slide up so students can work on sharing their ideas with the class. So now that we have that first part already covered, from here on out, I'm going to encourage you to use the time for the pause to have students work on their ideas and think, pair, and share. All right, so we have our idea of what our story is going to be about. Now we need to come up with who are our characters. All right, so you go ahead and think about, who are my characters going to be? And then you can think, pair, and share your ideas. All right, I'll see you soon. So now it's your turn to create a problem for your characters. And again, I'll put the slide up so your students can spend time thinking about their characters and then think, pair, and sharing if you are in a classroom setting. Solution. Solution, I notice, is one of the hardest things for my students to come up with because there's a lot that can go into a solution. So this might be something that you can spend more time brainstorming later on. This is a step I would always encourage students to know that if they still haven't thought of something, that's okay. Our brainstorm topic web is available to us throughout the whole entire writing process. So as we're writing, we can go back and add things if we need. So keep in mind, if you don't have a solution or you're struggling at this part, that is okay. All right, now it's your turn. What solution am I going to have in my short spooky story? I will put the slide up here for teachers to pause so students can come up with their solutions and think, pair, and share. All right, we have our last step in our topic web, extra details. So this is the part where I was thinking, when I read a spooky, scary story, what are some things I like to see? You can have spooky vampires in the graveyard, or you can have they're peeking through a window and there's ghosts. These are just little extra details that make the story spooky. So you can have as many of these as you want. And in a topic web, you don't have to write every single thing you write out. So next, I'm going to show an example of how I start to work on my topic web for my writing. Hopefully you came up with some really great details and you were able to share with a partner or whole class. Again, sharing these ideas really help come up with our own ideas as well. And it's okay if we take an idea from somebody else, because even if we take that one idea, we can expand on it in our own words. Lastly, I have my topic web and I'm ready to write. Well, we can always choose things what we actually want to put in our story. So I might take my pencil and I might mark out, I don't like that solution. Great, so now I know what I'm focusing on. Or I really want to make sure that I have this detail. I might put a star next to that detail that I'm going to include that in my story. Here is an example of our topic web to begin with. So as we see in the middle, we have the main idea and the main setting. And then we have our characters that go off to the very right. And that is where I list my characters. Then I list my problem or problems, depending on what I choose, my solution or solutions, and lastly, my extra details. And keep in mind, in a short, spooky, scary story, we only want to have one or two main characters, and I would also stick to only one problem and solution. And we can have as many extra details as we want. We really want to set the scene to ensure that our reader knows that this is a spooky story. So I write out that my main idea or setting is going to be my haunted house. Tom is my main character and his sister is Susie. He is in 6th grade and she is in 3rd. Then I can start writing out my problems. Susie gets her candy stolen and they get lost trying to find it, or another problem could be they get stuck in a haunted house and I'd have to find a way to lead into how do they get stuck in the haunted house. Then a solution would be that they find the stolen candy or they escape the haunted house. And then lastly, I really need to add those extra details. It's Halloween night, it's cold and gloomy, Tom hates Halloween, and the air was cool. I can write as many details as I choose because I don't have to pick everything I write on my topic web. This is just to help me organize all these ideas I have. And that is our basic foundation of our topic web. Right, so that was our lesson on our topic web, which is used for brainstorming. In our writing process, brainstorming is our first step in creating any piece of writing. Throughout the entire year, I always told my students to use topic webs when they were confused on what to write. Now, some students really struggle with topic webs, and that's okay. This is a new skill. So I always encourage my students to work with a partner or have students work with a teacher, or if you're homeschooling, work with your parent and learn how to come up with ideas. Because writing and reading are skills that we practice. It takes time to be good writers. Another thing that helps, spooky stories. Read lots of spooky stories. These help with writing as well. All right, in part 2, we are going to jump into how to write the introductory paragraph using our topic web. I'll see you then.